Okay guys, in this tutorial we are going to discuss the child or character primitive data type. Child or character is one of the 8 kinds of primitive data type of the Java programming language. And we have also discussed the various kinds of primitive data type of the Java programming language, applying the syntax rules and the concept of Java programming language. In this tutorial, we will also introduce the relationship between Char and Unicode. We will use Unicode and pass some data or type of values to our Char primitive data type. Another thing is, in this tutorial and some other tutorials to come, we will remove the commentary from the background because most of our viewers and our subscribers are saying the commentary usually block the code in the background. So in order to have a full view of what we are doing here and apply the concept, we will remove the commentary because we want you to understand almost everything we are doing here. Okay, all right, thank you, and let's get started with our tutorials for today. All right, so the first thing we have to understand is that whenever we talk about child primitive data type, the first thing runs to our mind is following the syntax rules of the Java programming language. If you want to apply the concept of the child primitive data type, you have to follow the syntax rules of the Java programming language. And whenever we talk about child or character, they are basically the same thing. So as we move on in this tutorial, I will show you how you can know they are the same thing basically. So let's come here and we say char. Let's say char data. We say equals, and we write our double quote, right? We put the our semicolon at the end. Okay, so like I said, following the syntax rules of the Java programming language is very important. Just like what we did now, we say char and we say char data equal, and we want to pass on set of values to the char data, but here we having a syntax error, right? So whenever you want to achieve the concept of passing data to any of the primitive data type, any of the 8 kinds of primitive data type, you have to follow the syntax rules of the Java programming language. So here we cannot say char and we try to apply this with double quote, because this double quote is for a string data type. If you are using this compiler or some other compiler, if you scroll over this, you will see that we have error, and then the menu will pop down. Good. So here you see the compiler is telling us that change variable child data type to string, right? So that means we are using the string format. We're trying to pass some values to the child primitive data type, but we're using the string format. So likewise, if we come here, let's come here and we say string. Good. So right now we won't have error anymore because it's in the string format, right? But that is not what we want to do. We want to apply it for the child data type. So likewise, what we can do is to come here and we change this double quote to single quote. Good. So if you do this, then it's fine now. It can run and it can work rather. So another thing is that whenever you want to deal with the child data type, another syntax rules is that the child cannot take more than 2 letters, characters, or any symbols rather, using the child primitive data type. Let's say we have numbers, we have letters that represent the 26 alphabet, and we have some symbols that are non-digit or letters. So here we want to print some of these things. The first thing we put 7. Yes, is positive because it's within the syntax rules of the Java programming language. So if we come here, we put 9. It won't work because it's against the syntax rules. Right now we have the 2 attempts within the semicolon, the single quote rather. So we cannot print this because it's against the syntax rules of the Java programming language. So in order to do that, you can only print 1. So let's come here and we say south, and we try to print it, right? So we come here, we say child data. Let's try to run this and see the result of the first one. Okay, so we come here, we have the result now. You see here we printed 7. Good. So let's try another situations wherein we just copy this. Let's copy this and we try to paste. All we need to do is to change the assigned data name. So we put 1 here and we put 1 here. Good. The next thing now we want to do is to print letters. So we can print uppercase characters or we can print lowercase. So likewise, we want to print uppercase, we print F. Good. And we try to run our program and get a result. So this is the result. You see, we printed 7, right? So we can also print some symbols. Let's try to separate this. We can come here and we print some symbols. All we need to do is to copy this and paste this, and we come here, we change the data type. So we can change this as 2, and we also change this guy as 2, right? Alright, so the next thing now, we want to print a percent, which is a percent symbols. So this symbol represent a percent, right? So we come here, we try to print this. So let's try it and see. Okay, here we go. So here we have the result of the percent. This is the result, and you see 7, we got F, and we got percent, right? Good. So another thing I want you to understand is that whenever we talk about child or character, we basically mean the same thing. It's just another way of representing this one, calling this the name of child. So we can try to test that. So here we already created a data for child, so we can also use the character now. We say character, and let's say character data, right? And we try to assign some set of we try to assign values to the child, the character data, right? So here we can say L. We already use L. No, okay, we haven't. So we come here. The next thing now we want to do is to print it out. So we can say character. Alright, so let's try to print this. Alright, here we go. So we have it to be printed. So you can see the L here. So actually there is no differences between the char and the character. It's just another way of calling char data type character, but they are both the same thing. And let's move to the relationship between a Unicode and a char primitive data type, which is one of the most important things that we should understand from this tutorial, because here we represented all of these data. We have AR here, we have 7, we have F, and we have percent. So all of what we represented here, and we try to print them, there are many ways in which we can try to print these things using the Unicode representations. Is another way of representing the physical view of what you want to print and representing it with numbers, right, or some set of code. So here let's try to copy this, and we try to paste it. All we need to do is to change the data type, so we can change it to Unicode, and we also come here, we change the name to Unicode, right? Here we go. So let's try to change the data from here. Then if you have a browser, you come to your Google browser here, and we try to check this. So what we want to do now is to check the official website of the Unicode, so we can see all of the symbols and characters. So we come here, unicode.com, unicodetable.com, right? And we click enter. Initially, if you click enter, you will come to this site. So you click the first option here, so we click this, and we can see all of the cases and characters we can represent of the char primitive data type, right? So likewise, we come back to our compiler, and we have what? Let's say we have error here. Let's change this one to let's use character first, K. So here we have K, right? So we can come back to our website and look for K. So let's come back to the website. Good. Let's try to look for K characters. Here we go. Good. This is K. So initially, if you scroll over here, you will see like there is a pop-up code. You can see the code, but if you cannot see it well, all you need to do is to click the letters or any other symbols you want here, and down here you will see there is a code for HTML web developers, and you also have some code that say Unicode number. So this one is what we need, so we will copy this. So let's copy the Unicode number, and we come here back to our compiler, and we try to paste it in the single quote. Now pasting it, there is another thing you have to apply, which is the syntax rules. So here we come, we put our slash and we put our U to represent the Unicode, right? Good. So now that we have this, the next thing now we want to do is to run our code. So here we try to represent K with a Unicode, right? So in other words, if you don't want to write the physical view of what you want to print, you can print it with a Unicode, right? So let's come and run it and see what we have. So we will come and run it. Okay, so here we go. You see, so we printed K here. We have the K we wrote physically. This is the K, and the other one, which is the Unicode, we use some set of code to represent the K value. So like on your keyboard or whatsoever you are using, like it does not have all of the characters or symbols that you want to print. Maybe there are some strange character or symbols you want to print, but they are not available. So you can use this the concept of applying the Unicode to represent some keys or characters or like some symbols. You just come to the official websites of the Unicode. Here we can see all of the cases we want to represent. Like we have numbers, we have digits from 0 to 9. We also have the 26 English letter alphabet, and we have some set of symbols that are not digit or characters. So you can see them here. Another thing is that we can represent some set of icons here. We can represent some set of icons. So let's try to represent something. Let's come here and represent what we call let's try to paste this, and the next one we want to do is, let's say, copyright. Okay, and we try to call the name of this data. So the next one now we want to do is, we come here back to our browser, we look for copyright. So let's come down here and see if we can find copyright. Okay, here we go. So this is copyright. You can see the representations. We click here and we see the representations of the code, right? So we copy the code and we come back to our compiler. The next thing now we want to do is to paste this copyright representations here. All we need to do is, following the syntax rules of the Java programming language, we put our slash and we put U, right? So we save it and we try to run it. Okay, here we go. So we come back here to our compiler. You see, we have the result here. You see here. So we represented our copyright characters or copyright symbols, and we can see the result here. So using this website, we can use apply so many things that we want to do, like so many representations of symbols, characters, and other things you want to use. Like if you are doing something for the graphic user interface, you can also apply the icons. But here we are using CLI command line applications interface, so we cannot represent some graphics here because this is just for this command line interface. But if you are using some graphics, you can, like some web development things, you can use some of the representations here of the graphics, icons, or characters. So guys, this is all for this tutorial. Let's go over it again. The first thing we discussed char and characters, and I told you like char and character, they are basically the same thing, and we try to represent them when we try to pass on values or data to the char data type. And here we also try to do it for the character, and we did for the char, and we said they are both the same thing within the Java programming language. Then we try to apply some code representations of the Unicode. We represented the physical view of K here. We can also use some other letters, but we decide to use K, and we try to look for K representations on the map of the Unicode or the table of the Unicode. So we look for K, and this is K. We selected the code of K. This is the code, and we come back to our browser. We come back to our compiler, and we try to paste the representations of the K data type, and we apply the syntax. We put our slash and we put our U, which represent the Unicode, and we try to print it. So this is how to represent anything within the syntax of the Char primitive data type. Thank you, and if you have some questions on this tutorial, you can also leave your comment below, and this is all for this tutorial. Okay guys.